From the quiet comfort of our kitchens to the bustling cafes of the world, the cup of tea is a universal symbol of warmth and tranquility. Yet, within this seemingly simple brew lies a tumultuous history, a chronicle of ambition, espionage, and conflict that stretched across continents and centuries. This is the story of the tea wars, not fought with cannons and cavalry in open battlefields, but rather in the secretive gardens of ancient empires, the desperate halls of power, and ultimately, within the very economics of the global market. Every sip we take today carries the echoes of these profound struggles. Tea's journey began thousands of years ago in the lush mountains of southwest China, where its leaves were first revered for their medicinal properties. Legend speaks of Emperor Shen discovering tea accidentally in 2737 BC. Over millennia, it evolved from a tonic to a ceremonial drink, deeply embedded in Chinese culture and philosophy. Monasteries and imperial courts embraced its calming ritual, unknowingly nurturing a plant that would one day trigger global upheaval. China held the sole key to this precious commodity, a secret meticulously guarded within its borders. It wasn't until the 17th century that tea truly captivated Europe. Dutch traders were among the first to bring tea leaves to the continent, initially a luxury reserved for the elite. Its exotic appeal and purported health benefits quickly elevated its status, becoming a fashionable indulgence in European courts. As demand grew, especially in England, tea transitioned from an aristocratic privilege to a rapidly spreading habit among the burgeoning middle classes. This burgeoning demand created a powerful economic force, laying the groundwork for future geopolitical tensions. Nowhere did tea seize hold quite like in Britain. By the 18th century, it had become the nation's quintessential beverage, an integral part of daily life from dawn till dusk. This national obsession, however, came at a steep price. Britain, an island nation with no native tea cultivation, relied entirely on imports from China. The British East India Company, a formidable trading entity, became the primary conduit, channeling vast quantities of tea into the eager British market. This massive, unchecked demand would soon ignite a desperate search for solutions. For centuries, China remained the world's sole producer of tea. Its intricate cultivation techniques, specific varietals, and secret processing methods were carefully guarded national assets. No other nation possessed the knowledge or the plants to replicate this prized commodity. The Chinese, self-sufficient and largely uninterested in European goods, accepted only silver as payment for their tea. This created a stark and unsustainable trade imbalance, with vast quantities of British silver flowing eastward, threatening to bankrupt the British Empire and deepen their dependency. The trade deficit reached alarming levels. Britain's voracious appetite for tea, coupled with China's disinterest in British manufactured goods, created a monumental drain on imperial coffers. The precious silver reserves of the British Empire were hemorrhaging, disappearing into Chinese vaults in exchange for tea leaves. This economic vulnerability became the catalyst for a desperate and morally questionable search for an alternative commodity to balance the scales. The tea wars were now overtly economic, pushing Britain to the brink of financial crisis. In a desperate attempt to rectify the trade imbalance, the British East India Company turned to a highly addictive narcotic, opium. Grown cheaply and abundantly in British-controlled India, opium was smuggled into China in ever-increasing quantities. The profits from this illicit trade were then used to purchase tea, effectively circumventing the silver drain. This unethical solution created widespread addiction within China and severely strained relations between the two nations, setting the stage for an inevitable confrontation fueled by tea and its illicit proxy. China's government, gravely concerned by the devastating impact of opium addiction on its population and economy, fiercely resisted the British trade. Imperial Commissioner Lin Zexo famously ordered the destruction of vast quantities of British opium in Canton, igniting the First Opium War in 1839. This was a war fought ostensibly over opium, but at its heart, it was a battle for control over trade and access to China's most prized commodity, tea. Britain, with its superior naval power, ultimately forced China into submission, opening its ports and solidifying its hold on the tea trade. Even after the Opium Wars, Britain recognized the inherent instability of relying on forced trade and illicit goods. A more permanent solution was needed, breaking China's monopoly entirely. The vision was to cultivate tea within the vast territories of the British Empire, particularly in India, which offered suitable climates and fertile lands. This strategic shift marked a new phase in the tea wars, moving from economic coercion and military might to botanical espionage and agricultural innovation. The goal was self-sufficiency and ultimate control over the beloved leaf. Enter Robert Fortune, a Scottish botanist and plant hunter, entrusted by the British East India Company with an audacious and dangerous mission. His task: to infiltrate China's secretive tea regions, steal tea plants, seeds, and, crucially, the closely guarded knowledge of tea processing. In 1848, disguised as a Chinese mandarin and later as a peasant, Fortune embarked on a perilous journey, venturing into territories previously forbidden to Westerners. This was industrial espionage on an epic scale, a crucial gambit in the ongoing tea wars for global dominance. Fortune's expedition was fraught with danger. He faced bandits, disease, and the constant threat of exposure in a land deeply suspicious of foreigners. Yet, his perseverance paid off. He meticulously observed local farmers, documented cultivation practices, and, most importantly, identified and collected viable tea plants and seeds. He uncovered that China cultivated two distinct tea varieties for green and black tea, a crucial piece of knowledge that allowed for a more comprehensive transplant of the industry. His daring work laid the scientific foundation for a new tea empire. Fortune's mission was a resounding success. He returned to India with thousands of tea plants and seeds, along with detailed instructions on their cultivation and processing. These precious cargo were carefully transported to the British East India Company's experimental plantations in India. This was more than just plant material, it was the biological blueprint for an entirely new industry. The stage was now set for the transformation of vast tracts of Indian land into the world's next great tea-producing regions, fundamentally altering global trade dynamics. The fertile soils of Assam and the temperate slopes of Darjeeling proved ideal for tea cultivation. British ingenuity, combined with indigenous labor, transformed these regions into sprawling tea estates. Chinese methods were adapted, refined, and industrialized to meet the burgeoning global demand. What began as a covert operation blossomed into a massive agricultural enterprise. Soon, Indian tea, with its distinct flavors and aromas, began to flow into international markets, directly challenging China's long-held dominance. The tea wars had spawned a formidable new contender. The entry of Indian tea into the global market irrevocably shattered China's centuries-old monopoly. The tea wars now shifted from securing supply to fierce market competition. British consumers, once solely reliant on China, now had a choice. Prices fell, accessibility increased, and tea became an even more ubiquitous beverage. This diversification of supply significantly diminished China's economic leverage and ushered in an era of global tea production, where multiple regions competed for market share, a direct consequence of the desperate measures taken by Britain. The tea wars also led to the rise of another major player, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. In the 1860s, a devastating fungus wiped out Ceylon's flourishing coffee industry. Faced with economic ruin, British planters made a dramatic pivot to tea. James Taylor, a Scottish planter, played a pivotal role in establishing Ceylon's first tea estate. The island's climate and topography proved incredibly suitable, leading to the rapid growth of a new tea empire. Ceylon tea, renowned for its briskness, further diversified the global market and solidified Britain's dominance in tea production. The ripples of these tea wars are still felt today. What began as a pursuit for a pleasant beverage escalated into a geopolitical struggle that reshaped trade, ignited wars, and redrew the economic map of the world. The legacy includes the diverse array of teas available globally, from Chinese greens to Indian blacks and Ceylonese brews. It's a testament to human ambition, ingenuity, and sometimes ruthless exploitation, all stemming from the desire to control a simple leaf. Every cup consumed today is a quiet reminder of this turbulent past. The transformation brought about by the tea wars led to the globalization of tea production and consumption. No longer confined to its Chinese homeland, tea became a truly international commodity, cultivated in dozens of countries and enjoyed by billions. This global expansion, however, also brought new challenges: the displacement of indigenous populations, the exploitation of labor, and environmental degradation in the pursuit of profit. The story of tea is a microcosm of colonialism's broader impact, demonstrating how a singular desire could drive such far-reaching and complex consequences across the globe. Reflecting on this history, the seemingly innocuous cup of tea reveals its true cost. It's a cost measured not just in silver, but in human lives, in lost sovereignty, and in environmental impact. The struggle for control over tea left an indelible mark on nations, shaping economies, cultures, and even the geopolitical landscape for generations. While modern tea trade strives for ethical practices and sustainability, the foundations of its global reach are steeped in a past where profit and power often overshadowed peace and justice, forever altering the destiny of a continent. Today, while overt military conflict over tea is a thing of the past, the tea wars continue in new forms. They manifest in battles over fair trade practices, sustainable agriculture, and intellectual property rights for unique varietals. Branding, market share, and the fight against climate change impacting tea-growing regions are the contemporary battlegrounds. The desire to control the narrative, the quality, and the distribution of tea persists, demonstrating that even in a globalized, interconnected world, the humble tea leaf remains a potent symbol of economic and cultural power. So, the next time you raise a cup of tea to your lips, consider the extraordinary journey of this ancient beverage. It is a journey marked by imperial ambition, desperate measures, daring espionage, and bitter conflicts. The tea wars brewed in that very cup transformed nations, cultures, and the global economy, leaving an indelible mark on history. More than just a drink, tea is a liquid chronicle of human endeavor and the complex, often dark, interplay of power and desire. A simple pleasure, with a profound and turbulent past.